I had the idea of working with Lalo because of the theme of Enter the Dragon, the way that he put Bruce's voice and his yelling, the mixture between the Chinese instrumentations and the urban cool grooves, which if you think about it, it's like Asian music and kind of black urban music combined to make that theme. And that's really what gave me the idea of Rush Hour.
Like Brett Ratner, Quentin Tarantino is another high-profile Hollywood director that has been inspired by Bruce Lee. When he wanted someone to do the soundtrack for the movie Kill Bill, he approached RZA to draw on his vast knowledge of Bruce Lee films.
Doing the music for Kill Bill was something that was a great opportunity for me. I'm a hip-hop producer, and Mr. Tarantino was a Wu-Tang fan and actually became the first composer he ever hired. And we actually met like two guys throwing out baseball cards, naming Kung Fu films. He knew the most films, and we became friends.
Like RZA, Damon Albarn from the British band Gorillaz saw Bruce Lee at an early age and was blown away. His band has sold over 15 million albums, and their latest project, a circus opera called Monkey Journey to the West, has been staged around the world. When creating the music for the opera, Damon Albarn drew on the soundtrack to Enter the Dragon.
I definitely thought about that when I was doing the music for the Monkey Opera. The strong use of orchestra, and it's just really exciting. It never became dull, you know.
Bruce Lee's influence has been apparent in much of the Gorillaz' work since they launched in 1998 as the world's first virtual band.
You always say that too.
They created their own Game of Death animation and dressed Monkey in Bruce Lee's signature yellow tracksuit.
You put Monkey in a Bruce Lee...
Yeah, well, exactly. Monkey has a Bruce Lee tracksuit.
You can't really... It's so iconic.
The Gorillaz aren't the only artists to capitalize on Bruce Lee's image. The international appeal and strong brand identity is something advertisers and marketers have also been keen to exploit, creating a wave of Bruce Lee-inspired commercials, comics, and video games around the world. When Bruce Lee emerged in the early 1970s, he looked and acted like no one before, a larger-than-life superhero who could never be beaten. Stan Lee is the creative force behind Marvel Comics and is responsible for creating hundreds of superheroes, including Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, and the X-Men. He immediately saw the comic book potential in Bruce Lee.
You might say he was a superhero without a costume, and his superpower was really his agility and the fact that he fought in a way that we were not used to seeing.
A year after Enter the Dragon was released, Marvel Comics created the character Iron Fist, based on Bruce Lee. Further Bruce Lee-inspired characters followed, including Shang-Chi and the Hands of Kung Fu.
I'm quite sure we would not have done that book had there not been a Bruce Lee. I think that any character who in any way was a martial artist, you'd have to say that they owed their origin in some way to Bruce Lee, because he was the first one to make Westerners aware of that type of fighting and that type of a way of life.
With the advent of video games in the 1980s, designers were quick to pick up on the same characteristics that had made Bruce Lee translate so well into comics. In 1984, the Bruce Lee video game was released, followed by a slew of others. These included Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, and Bruce Lee, Quest of the Dragon, as well as numerous other games which took their inspiration from the king of martial arts.
Be water, my friend.
One thing we could definitely give Bruce Lee credit for is his inspiration into the martial art video games. You will notice that there's not one martial art video game that doesn't have a Bruce Lee character in it. If you even go back to the Street Fighter series or to Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was one of the biggest arcade games to come out, and who they got? The guy Lee Kwan, looking just like Bruce Lee, bouncing on his feet, looking like Bruce Lee.
Ralph LeMaitre is a senior games producer at the telecommunications giant Nokia. When the company wanted to develop a martial arts-inspired video game for their Engage platform, they turned to Ralph.
I loved Bruce Lee. That was the inspiration for the whole thing. I wanted always to do a martial arts game because I want to do something Bruce Lee-like.
But translating Bruce Lee's dynamism and fighting style into a game is no mean feat. To get the most realistic fighting simulation possible, Ralph decided to use a technique called motion capture, where human movement is filmed, then digitally recreated. After an extensive search, Ralph found the man he thought best captured Bruce Lee's speed and fighting style, a Jeet Kune Do instructor from Glasgow, named Tommy Carruthers.
And he's just Jeet Kune Do guy around the world. I mean, his speed, his power, and his precision, it's just unmatched. I just love looking what he does, you know.
And we shot, I think, 7 days, motion capture. We done all the footwork, punches and kicks, and we done the stunt work and fight choreographer, which was pretty hard work and pretty good, exciting, and something different. I've never done anything like that before.
The characteristics that have made Bruce Lee translate well into video games and comics have also been a gift to advertisers.
Partly because he was smart enough when he was alive to actually create aspects of his screen persona that are so identifiably Bruce Lee. You don't even need the name Bruce Lee. You don't even need to hear his voice to think, oh, that's Bruce Lee.
And with this instant recognition comes a set of values that people associate with Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee defines Kung Fu. If you want to reference sort of strength and sleekness and speed and power, Bruce Lee is shorthand for all of those things.
What they're trying to sell is an image of perfection. Right, here's a guy who's really good at what he does, so my product is that good. So I can understand what they're doing.
The Bruce Lee brand can represent many things. There are many characteristics that he had, many aspects to his personality. It can represent purity, health, confidence, speed, even tragedy.
Ari Merkin is the CEO of the New York advertising agency, Toy. As well as being one of the most awarded creative directors in the world, he's also a huge fan of Bruce Lee, using him as the inspiration for many of his commercials.
Bruce Lee influenced me tremendously. Creativity is about sort of spitting out what you've got inside, you know, the things that have influenced you, the images that have stayed in your mind. Bruce Lee and all of the things that I took away from his movies always stayed in my mind.
Bruce Lee's image has been used in hundreds of advertisements around the world to sell everything from cars by BMW, Levi jeans, and confectionery.
Well, that's funny. I mean, Bruce Lee's image to this day is still used by many advertisers from so many diverse companies, from Mars bars to drinks in Japan to candy to many other things, because Bruce Lee sells.
In this Mars bar ad, a Bruce Lee lookalike is being attacked, but instead of using nunchucks, he opts for a far less threatening weapon.
It's a very effective ad. It does step a bit into the parody territory. It pays tribute to the man and the brand with its sign-off, which is a delicate version of a classic. The ad manages to acknowledge Bruce Lee movies as classics, thereby elevating the brand, thereby elevating the product. It's a win-win for both.
The Mars bar ad is one of a long line of commercials that pokes fun at Bruce Lee's image.
It's become okay to make fun of Bruce Lee a little bit.
35.
So when you get advertisements like the Brisk Iced Tea commercial, in which he's fighting the Karate Kid, I don't think anybody's offended by that. It's fun.
Brisk, baby!
One of the latest campaigns to use Bruce Lee's image is one for the Nokia N96 mobile phone that features Bruce Lee playing ping pong with nunchucks. Since it first appeared in China, it's had more than 1 million hits on YouTube across the world.
People are still finding ways to put Bruce Lee into new context. like the recent commercial in which someone dressed as Bruce in the inevitable tracksuit is playing ping pong using a pair of nunchakus. It all just adds to his legacy in its own way, and sort of passes it on to the next generation.
It's been more than 35 years since Bruce Lee's death, but there appears to be no let-up in interest, with numerous projects in the pipeline. These include Hollywood remakes of The Green Hornet and the 80s cult classic The Last Dragon, as well as a Broadway musical and a computer-generated Bruce Lee film in development from Spider-Man creator Stan Lee.
It's a fictional action movie in which we found a way to have Bruce Lee appear in this movie.
It's Bruce Lee's legacy that was foremost in people's minds when they gathered in Seattle for the 35th anniversary of his death. He's buried alongside his son Brandon, a rising actor who died in a tragic accident on the set of the film The Crow. Bruce Lee's grave has become a mecca for fans, with thousands turning up each year to pay their respects. Linda and Shannon have returned to celebrate the life of a devoted actor, husband, and father. They're joined by more than 400 people who have traveled from as far afield as Lee's ancestral home of Shunda in China.
We are so proud of him because he's Chinese.
It's a weekend dedicated to Lee's teaching as top Jeet Kune Do experts perform demonstrations. It's also a chance for Shannon and Linda to discuss how they are keeping the legacy alive, with plans for the first Bruce Lee Museum on U.S. soil in Seattle, known as BLAM.
That's the Bruce Lee Action Museum. So she wanted it to represent movement and action and taking action, and make it also about community, research, philosophy, education, foundation, all of those different things.
It's July 20th, the day of Bruce Lee's death, and Linda, Shannon, and many of Bruce Lee's family and friends have gathered at his graveside to pay their respects.
This is Bruce's gravestone. In front of it is a book. And on the book it says, "Your inspiration continues to guide us toward our personal liberation." It's the journey that's important, it's not the destination.
Bruce Lee is also being remembered in other ways, with statues being erected to him in China and Los Angeles to follow those unveiled in Hong Kong and Bosnia, where he was chosen as a symbol of the fight against ethnic divisions. A spokesman said, "We will always be Muslims, Serbs, or Croats, but one thing we all have in common is Bruce Lee." It's been more than 35 years since the death of the man universally hailed as the king of martial arts movies, a man who changed the worlds of film, philosophy, physical fitness, music, and the arts. A man who died age 32 before seeing the impact he created. A man who changed the world forever.
His impact was so incredibly powerful. I mean, he just really hit popular culture in the solar plexus with the biggest right hand a man could throw. And I think we're still reeling from the blow.